order. Call this meeting of Senate to order on April 8th at 6:15 p.m. Can I have everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Bolt, would you like to lead us off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, come down. Take your roll call. Look into your view. Alright, 34 present, what's going on? Alright, additions, deletions, and or clarifications to the orders of the day. Are there any motions? Senator Yullo.
I would like a motion to add removal of election supervisor, the supervisor of the ERC to the agenda.
Could you just...
Yeah. I would like to make a motion to add removal of the supervisor of the ERC to election. Supervisor of elections of the agenda.
So, like...
In statute 701.1.11 it says that after 4 weeks we can just terminate their time in office. So I would like to discuss that and possibly remove from office.
Sure, that's fine. Just... like that?
I mean, or ERC either way.
Okay. Alright. Any more additions, deletions, changes? Senator Cease.
Could you add the two bills that Alex set up? The Title 6 bill and the resolution for the particular?
such? Good? Mr. Scott? Any more amendments, additions, deletions, changes? Seeing none, Senator Harden?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Right. Any objection to approving agenda as it stands? Okay, moving on. Additions, deletions, and or changes to the minutes that were sent out. I believe those are back in November 12th. Sorry, 12th. Any changes to those minutes? Any issues? You guys all at least searched your own name? Good stuff. Right. Motion. Senator Myers?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Any objection to approving the minutes from November 12th? Seeing none, it will be approved. They are approved. Alright, moving on now. Legislative branch reports. Senator Armstrong.
Alright, so my committee went ahead this week, they passed the, reform of the Company Responsibility Entrustment Act, rare District 4021. My Vice Chair is Pellegrino, if you have anything you'd like to add on the bill for the discussions that occurred? No? It was a productive discussion, and it's gonna be presented to you tonight. I hope you guys all appreciate the work that's been done there. It's an extensive bill, multiple chapters, so it takes more than 2 readings, it can take 3 readings. Okay, alright, Abdul is gonna present that. Mr. Aziz, Chairman Aziz.
Sir. Question? Seeing none. Thank you. Ms. Casey.
So my committee met this week and we passed 3 bills, which you will see before you today. Other than that, we have nothing. We're winding down. And in terms of ASAC, you'll see the bill again tonight, so hopefully all of you looked at it before you went to sleep every night for the past week. Questions? Cool.
Seeing no questions, thank you, Madam Senator Paul. Aziz, would you like to jump on the back?
Yeah, so, last week, JEC met, and we continued the end of year, executive branch updates. Last week we had the chief financial officer present, and, this Thursday we have, the Department of Programming and Marketing, as well as Legal Affairs and, Secretary of Government Affairs, and University Advancement, and some other people that have also decided they wanted to come, so we'll be doing that on Thursday, and continuing it on to the next week, just to accommodate everyone.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Thank you. Moving on, start off with Henry.
Okay, so special funding met today, and we went over, actually we passed the travel grant. We have a couple $1,000 and we are still, receiving travel grants, so that'll be over quick. And we also went through statutes and, senators kind of brought ideas about what they thought should be, what could be better done next year. And we're gonna draft that up and give it to them next year. Any questions? If you guys wanna put special funding under the best committee too, that's perfectly okay.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, and for UCJ, Mr. Brown.
Hi, we had Senator Hartman's 10th day today. A little bit of bad weather. Luckily, MSC staff graciously let us use the awning near the bookstore. So I discussed the results. I'll let Senator Hartman take over.
Thank you. So I want to thank Senators Brown, Leamy, Larkins, Lindale, Richard, and KB, of course, for helping us make this 10th day a success. Even though it rained and the location wasn't like prime, we still got over 200 results and leftover sandwiches in the suite for any of you guys who had that delicate chance to eat those. And some of the results range from the usual, like having a football stadium on campus and like lower tuition or no parking fees. But we also had some successful feedback regarding more blue lights. So what we plan on doing is taking these results and tallying them and maybe possibly either having future 10 days more specifically on them and bringing them to the administration and other on-campus services that can hopefully address them.
Thank you. Any questions?
Alright, everyone received the banquet award packet. Please be sure to fill that out. Obviously, we'll pay attention here. In recesses, or I guess that's why I gave it up before the meeting started. Once you get done with them, if you could drop them off by, I guess, for the table in front of Ms. Jessica Morgan back here when you sign your clickers, that'd be the best way, since this guy is going to be tallying the results for the banquet. The banquet will be on April 25th. More information about that, including RSVP, will happen probably by the end of this week or next week. Other than that, I guess in terms of, I've been a little bit busy, you know, we are all obviously students first, so I'm trying to get done and graduate myself, but after probably about Wednesday or Thursday this week, we're gonna start having info sessions for the new seniors, so that when it comes time for the 22nd, that they are gonna be prepared to, you know, be ready to be inaugurated or inducted into the term, I guess, as well as going through all the loads of documents we have and trying to have everything updated so that the new term can not start off and be, you know, folks so far behind as we were. That should be about it. Any questions?
Oh, do you want to talk about possible funds for next week or not?
I mean, they'll be updated for next week as well. In terms of what 10 days have gone over the course of the spring, people who presented bills, the people who worked during the elections, who attended, you know, either executive branch CAB meetings or court meetings, and so on and so forth. The other things that are mentioned in the positive points outline. So that information should be. I'll have a bunch of prizes through next week, hopefully as well.
So yeah, all of you guys, just let your chair people know that you want your positive points that you've earned. Just let them, like, make sure they tell Adam that you've done something that you've done. If you want, it's pretty much completed the transition binder. We just have to find someone who wants to transition. Because no one's approaching me, guys. Step your game up. Right here. Other than that, we've just been pretty much retouching base with a lot of other people. So I know I've mentioned IT a couple times. IT we've retouched base with to figure out about the 3D printer thing. But honestly, a lot of these things we're gonna have to hand off to the next Senate because they're more conceptual ideas. So we do the research for them this year, but we'll have next Senate, next exec, next judicial, what have you, run with the ideas because you're gonna need a whole semester worth of data, and we can't do that over the summer. Like, you don't have enough people here to be able to research. We also have an update from the parking garage sensors and all that kind of stuff, but I'm gonna meet with them one more time before I actually tell you exactly what's happening, so I have a clear picture that they have. Other than that, it's been pretty low key. But questions? Moving on. Executive branch report. Mr. Warren?
Good evening, everyone. Scott couldn't be here this evening. He and his mother are big Kevin Bacon fans, so they're certainly welcome to show. But he told me to tell you all he loves and misses you. As far as the executive branch, Mr. Kogo and Mr. White have moved into their transition office in the student government suite. So make sure you stop by and give them a warm welcome to their office. The whole executive branch has been participating in the JECC updates, along with compiling transition reports to give to Mr. Kogo and his new staff for the transition. I've been serving on a career services transition team as they move from academic affairs to student affairs and kind of helping them adjust with that, and sitting on the search committee for the new assistant vice president of career services. And our program department is working hard on the inauguration and our SG banquet. So are there any questions for the executive branch?
Do you know when the inauguration is or any details about it so far?
Last I heard it was April 25th at 2 p.m. Once we have graphics and everything, we'll send out all you guys on the listserv and have everything out. But I know we've had to fluctuate the date a few times, but that's the last I heard.
Mr. Harper?
Does student government have a team for Relay for Life?
We do not.
Is that something we could look into?
What is Relay for Life?
This weekend?
That would be something nice for the transition report to recommend for next year.
Okay.
Ms. Morgan?
You can do Relay for Life on your own, we just can't pay for it with ANSD.
Of course. I didn't mean that, just like a team for
Okay.
people to be together. You know?
People could see you after the meeting if they wanted.
quick.
Alright, any other questions? Oh, yeah. Next week, I'll give you my State of the Student Body address at 5:30 p.m. in this room. So I hope to see all your faces there. It'll be exciting. It's my last one. Anything else?
Did you see that was?
What?
Did you see that?
Next Tuesday. Before you meeting. Alright, Senator Yu.
So you said it was at 5:30, so it's gonna start before Senate meeting and go, is it gonna last until Senate meeting or is it gonna?
They're probably like the 5:45, 5:50, so you have a 10-minute break, use the restroom and get some refreshments.
The same we've done pretty much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Judicial branch report.
Hello, Senate. I'll keep it short this week. First, I just want to let you guys know that we had elections in the judicial branch for the senior justice, which is the second in command. Daniel Shapiro is continued to be the ranking or senior justice, and ranking justice is continued to be Sammy Ahmed. So they're both going to be serving in their leadership as of right now, and they ran unopposed. We're going to be discussing plans of how the other justices are going to work throughout the summer, so we're going to throw out some ideas. But since there's not that many pressing issues or business, I gave the justices a break for this week to enjoy USF week. And what I do want to see, I contacted the other justices from the other campuses and possibly see if the senators could come for that info session on the 22nd. Aldridge, you said that was the 22nd, the info session?
No, the info sessions will be happening probably by the end, starting, we scheduled by the end of this week, and we'll go and then until around the 22nd. Because the 22nd will be the Senate meeting where it's scheduled to be the last meeting for the elections.
And you're okay if I let the other legislative branches from the other campuses?
Absolutely, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think they'll be eager to see what that's like. So I'll let them know, and hopefully they can come check out.
I'll be sure to send you the link.
Okay, thank you. And other than that, that is all I have to report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, sir. Alright, moving on, open forum. USF week. Senator Aziz.
Let's say Thursdays at 12, my radio show is in House on Board Radio. So if you have time, you can listen to the stream.
And it's also archived. Listen whenever you want. Anything else? Open forum, guys. There's free Ben and Jerry's ice cream outside there. Oh, Mr. Harmon.
The courts from Sarasota, Manatee, and St. Pete both have robes now, so they're super excited to wear their robes for their parking fields and their trials too. So they're gonna look good.
The weeks are not in yet.
Next month.
See nothing? Oh, alright. Moving on, general business. First time on business, removal of supervisor of election. Mr. Elo.
So, over the course of elections, I feel there's a lot of controversy versus bias in the ERC and bias in the supervisor. There's been a lot of discussions about what it was, and they've got a court decision and all that stuff. I've had a lot of students come to me and question about what's happening with that, why are some of the justices being reviewed for impeachment, and why is some of the ERC members not, stuff like that. So I was looking at statutes to see what we had to do for it. And I realized that after 4 weeks after spring break, Senate could vote to remove the ERC from office. And so after looking at a lot of the problems and stuff that we've had during election time, I would like to possibly get some discussion on it, especially since even now we're a little bit in like gloom after elections, especially now when we have members that are hitting 20 hours a week after elections compared to even during elections they're only hitting 15 hours a week. I think it'd be best to potentially save these funds, save time that's not actually being done, and just remove the supervisor.
Discussion, Senator Albert.
I just missed.
Oh, sure, thank you. Senator Albert.
I'd like a motion for a moderate discussion. Moderate focus 1 minute each time.
Any objection with, and you said 5 minutes total?
Yep.
Well, any objections, moderator talking, so 5 minutes, 1 minute speaking time. Yes, sir. Oh, Senator Z.
Can you pull up the statutes, I guess, and the duties of ERC and like something you mentioned? So we can have it.
Oh, let's get into discussion, just like, so, do you object to?
I don't.
Okay, cool. Senator Kinsler.
May I make a friendly amendment for 2 minutes speaking times?
What?
Or maybe 30 seconds?
90 seconds.
Okay. 90 seconds. Any objection to 90-second speaking time? No, okay. Alright. Mr. Yulzova, you've already opened, just, can you reference the statute so I can pull them up, Mr. Yulzova?
Well, this, I think he asked for the rules, I mean, the,
Well, he asked for his.
Another one.
I'm sorry, Mr. Aziz, what would you like?
I think in Title 7, like the job duties of
Gotcha,
the
okay.
supervisor.
Yeah. Very good. Alright, we'll just, cause I'm gonna scroll down, so this is 701.3, the duties of the supervisor of elections. Now we're gonna scroll down, we're just gonna scroll down so you guys can see as much as possible. Cool. Alright, discussion. Senator Aldridge. What's your?
Okay, it's not really a discussion point, but I'm sure we're gonna be discussing. I just wanted to ask in the air to Mr. Yule about, were you stating that like, about their hours that they're clocked in? Okay, so that information would only be privy to like, the financial information, yeah, the public record. So I don't think there's any, and I actually didn't think you could public record request how much you get paid, like your hours a week. So I didn't know how that information was obtained.
public records request, time sheets, hours.
Okay, go.
I just knew that information is not something that's like publicly just shown everywhere, and so it's looking, it was looking,
Because
but
Is that
that's.
information public record requested?
Yes. Because it's coming under SG funds, it can be public record requested.
But it, I guess, was it, so you're saying it was public record? Wasn't sure, so I
Like 30 seconds.
appreciate it. No, I have nothing else.
Mr. Aziz?
So for 701.3.13, the creating of the ad hoc committee for Title 7, that still has to be created?
Yes.
Okay.
Senator Monson.
Just 2 points I'd like to make regarding the work left for the election, the election rules commission supervisor. One, the ad hoc committee that Mr. Aziz pointed out, that's a pretty vital process in terms of reviewing those statutes. As the rules chair and I think as the board of Ed sits on that. And the second one was a volunteer appreciation event, which he has yet to hold. So I'm pretty sure they're working to plan that. And I think it'd be remiss to ignore the volunteers and not give them that appreciation.
Do you have a minute?
Have minutes though? Well, I mean, I really don't have anything else to say.
Okay. Senator Yulon.
I think with 3 other people sitting on the committee, we can still get the appreciation thing that I just think that they should be knowledgeable with the process, they should have sat in all the meetings, they should have sat in everything. So they should know all of the Title 7 things that they should have been talking as they go along, like this year. With a lot of the things that went on with elections, such as, I know there was something that came in JDC about not letting, candidates know whether they were approved to go on elections, voting locations being public, all the voting locations, things like that, and just simple things that were requirements that weren't necessarily fulfilled through elections, and a lot of students, and I know other senators have talked to me too, saying, what's gonna happen with this, and I think that we can still function the committee well and prepare for next year with or without them, and I think it'd be more beneficial to do that, after looking at hours, especially since reviewing the hours that have been put in, I saw more hours put in after the election than I did see when there's still grievances on the record that needed to be looked at. So I think that's a very important thing to look at.
Thanks, sir. And then I have Mr. Priest. Okay, Mr. Warmke?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what Chairman Onmar was saying, that the ERC still has to draft the transition binder for, all the policies that have been for this year, and to pass over to the new transition. So by reviewing them now, there's
Thanks, sir. Mr. Kenton?
Okay, so, I guess with all the stuff being brought up, I just have a few questions. So, first of all, I don't know about the public records or request for records or whatever, but there have been, what has been done, I guess, since the election and the grievance process has been over. That's been a few weeks. My second question is like, is the ad hoc committee on Title VII going to be like in the next 2 weeks? And if so,
It was
how
gonna
do
be
we?
tonight. I think I was gonna call it.
But how long did it take? How long did the committee take last time to get the Title VII revision to Senate?
Was it 2 weeks? Well, if you'd like for him, I don't want, like, unless you guys are okay. Mr. Russell?
Last time it actually took to the point where it was called. We worked during the 53rd term, right? This is 54th. So we worked during 53rd, and then it took too long. I guess it took about 3 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks. And then 54th or 53rd term ended, 54th term came in, and then I presented it to you guys beginning of this year. So it really just depends. I think last time it took 2.5 weeks on average. I really can't tell you, but I've only been here for 2 years.
Is that a follow-up? I mean, it's a really weird forum we're in, because it's like, moderator talks, but go ahead.
Okay, so I guess my question then is, considering that we only have like 2 Senate meetings after this, if we form the ad hoc committee now, isn't it going to be like a completely different group of it's going to be kind of like last time. It's going to be a completely different group of senators working on it, and then it's going to get presented to a new Senate. Is that really the most sensible way to be handling this, considering that we have like 2 weeks left in this term, and last time we did it, it took almost 3 weeks just to get the bill out? And secondly, I guess the question still is like, what has been done so far post grievances? Is the other question I'd like to
There's 5 seconds left in the forum. Mr. Priest?
Motion to extend, let's say by 4 minutes.
Sure. Any objections to extending 4 minutes in the caucus? Seeing no objections, they have been added. Mr. Stone, unless we're going to Mr. Stone.
Alright, so 2 things. And again. So last year's with the whole ad hoc committee, not here to blame Jeff on anything, but it was really supposed to come up that last meeting you guys had, and then he decided not to have it because you guys remember Jeff, sometimes he likes to coast along. Honestly, that was the explanation he gave to me, and I was frustrated, but whatever. So I have to come back. I think what was the second question? And then what question after you pass that? Is that allowed?
You can address the air and may answer.
Sorry, what was your question?
My second question is like, what has the time you've been clocking for? What has the time you've been clocking for been used on? Do you only like these 3 things to do?
Let's see. First of all, like regarding the time clocked in, I have no idea whose times you're looking at. So I'd love an elaboration after I guess answer this question. Because I can tell you my own hours. I'm the only one that breaks 20, and what I do work on is, as you guys saw and heard, the appeal, nice fun process. Court hearings, another nice fun process. Title VII revisions, even less fun process. ERC ROPs, we also have to consult Dr. Freeman, Dr. Miller, and other people just to decide some of the things you have to do with all the changes. So for example, you guys might see this. This is Title VII, they want us to change from beyond reasonable doubt, like I said.
Alright, thank you, sir. Unless there's somebody else, I'll just give the next time to him. Mr. Lowe? Go.
The hours I'm referring to is the hours between March 20th and April 2nd. Between there, you're talking 41 hours, which is 20 hours a week. And which is after the grievance hearing process. So, I need my time. Okay. Sorry. My time is it.
Sorry, the exact date one more time. Sorry, I missed that.
March 20th until April 2nd.
I don't remember that was around the grievance hearing the court hearings or the appeal
That's
process?
the Thursday after the appeals hearing.
After the
After the
court hearing?
After the court hearing.
Okay, so that sounds about right. So then we go appeals process, and then research, as well as post-election reports, as well as poll worker luncheon, as well as, honestly, CROPs and consultation with members of administration, SCOTO, members of the Senate, honestly, about all the Title VII revisions, because again, people told us we need a lot of revisions, so I have to go meet with the people that said we need revisions and figure out where they believe we need to revise things. Back to the point I was making when I ran out of time, one of the things that we got from Mr. Winston Jones, who is
15 seconds.
OSSR, and Dr. Freeman, and Dr. Miller, and Ms. Adamczyk, was that we should revise from beyond a reasonable doubt to preponderance of doubt, because that's the way they work in civil trials, and beyond reasonable doubt is for criminal trials. They said it's just such a...
You have 5 seconds. There's a minute left in the caucus. Anyone has any discussion on Senator Ron?
I'd just like to restate that there are very valid pieces of work that need to be done, and although that the commission would be functional without a head, do I think it'll be functional to its full capacity, the way that it was designed and the way that it's been operating? No, I do not think so. I think that if there's a supervisor in place, for reasons other than a lack of work, when it's clear that there's still work to be done, would just be improper on our part.
30 seconds, Mr. Wilson.
Back to talking about the rest of the members. None of them are here today, so I see them here. But all the stuff is for them, honestly, is post-election report, Title VII ROP changes that will submit to me. Then after that, I have to sift through pretty much an essay determining like the strong points of the election, weak points of the election, things that I see change, things they like, things that should go on. Pretty much just analysis of the entire election. So I'll get 3 of those. Then I have to go ahead and compile all of them, write my own, submit it along with Title VII and ERC changes. And then after this Friday, I believe, this is the 11th, yeah, this Friday the 11th, they'll all be terminated. All that's left will be just adding all of these, compiling them, then ROP, Title VII changes. Then we should be pretty much done from there, honestly.
10 seconds left in the caucus.
Oh, and Title VII ad hoc.
Senator Aldridge. 10
Yeah, I
seconds.
was gonna say the exact thing. I was gonna address what Mr. Colton brought up. Yeah, usually, I know it seems probably backwards for one set of group of people to be determining the ad hoc and what information they're bringing in still.
The caucus is exhausted. Senator Allen.
Motion to extend by 30 seconds by Mr. Aldridge.
Any objections to adding 30 seconds to your moderate caucus? Senator Aziz.
Can we get a minute?
Any objections to adding a minute to your moderate caucus? Seeing no objections to a minute. Seeing no objections to a minute. Mr. Aldridge.
But what I was gonna say is that the people that are usually in the ad hoc are ones that have experienced either running for the election or helping coordinate the election. So the idea would be that those people who've had the experience could then go through, argue about, here, this is what worked, this is what didn't. I mean, it's still gonna be brought up to the completely new people who almost all of them had been elected to see the bill, so the new term. So, and then that usually bill takes at least 2 or 3 readings. So I think that's the reason why it does that, and that's why usually the function has been sort of after the process in those couple weeks that are left in the semester that there's an ad hoc created with usually maybe a person of the ERC to fulfill those duties or to draft maybe ideas for the upcoming legislation in the next term.
10 seconds remaining. Mr. Elo. Mr. Elo.
Other discussion. I'll turn the motion to end discussion and just move on to other business and just reading through that.
Mr. Canton, do you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think all the questions are adequately answered, but just motion for the same thing.
Sure. Which one of you left this?
I'll go ahead. I would like to motion to end the moderated caucus and move on to the next item of business.
Sure. Any objections to moving on down the agenda? Seeing none, thank you. University Community and Governmental Chair elections. Let's see here. Mr. Hartman, do you accept your nomination?
Yes.
Mr. Obenamus, do you accept your nomination?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez, do you accept your nomination?
Yes.
And Ms. Alimi, do you accept your nomination? Any more people wanting to be nominated or wanting to nominate? Senator Yellow.
I would like to nominate Senator Brown.
Senator Brown, do you accept your nomination?
I respectfully decline.
Thank you, sir. Any more? Do I have a motion to close the nomination, please? Senator Aldridge. Any objection? Seeing none. The order you were nominated in and accepted will be the order you present in. So if I could have Mr. Obenamus, Mr. Lopez, and Ms. Alimi step out, move forward to Mr. Hartman's presentation. Or just, if you guys want some more clarification, yeah. So, what we'll do is they'll all present, everyone should know. So you have 5 minutes to present, you have questions and answers at the end, no different than ASARC, no different than you had for pretty much everything else. You had to ask questions that are applicable to all people, and that's pretty much it. Just pick the next person that you want to have chair this committee for the next 2 weeks or so. So let me get you going. Alright, you have 5 minutes, one tap of the gavel at 1 minute, 2 taps at 30 seconds, and 3 taps when you're done, you'll have 5 seconds to wrap it in, once you're ready.
Alright. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brandon, and I am running for the UCPH, as you can see. So a little bit about myself. I'm a junior, class of 2015, so next year. I'm a member of the Honors College. My major is physics and biomedical sciences. And my other involvements include National Collegiate Officer for the Red Cross, which is a national position. I basically get clubs all over the nation in touch with each other. Then VP of Community Involvement for my fraternity, so I do a lot of sponsorships for our philanthropies and our community service events. And also a brother of Alpha Phi Omega National Co-ed Service Fraternity, which is a fraternity all about volunteering and servicing. So my SG involvement is as follows. I have been re-elected for the next term. Also, I have been a member for this term and the previous one as well. Previous term and this term, I was a part of the UCGA committee. I have had experience chairing and also special funding under Adam. And before coming to USF, I was a dual enrollment student at Valencia Community College, which is now known as Valencia College in Orlando. And I was the Senator of Governmental Affairs in the SGA over there. This is my schedule, so you guys can see my availability. So after class in the morning, for most part, I am available on most days. These are some of the future initiatives that I'd like to bring up if elected. So I'd like to work closer with the executive branch to make the community more involved with the school. So one thing that was brought up is having more USF logos around the community, working to expand the Bulls discount, in the Bulls Country program. Also TEDx, we didn't have it this year, we did have it last year. But I've been in touch with the CLC on the first floor about bringing it back. They're actually receiving funding to get their certification back, so hopefully we'll be able to have that from now on. It's a very prestigious thing for USF to have. Then also increase USF's impact locally and in Tallahassee, so more emphasis on Capital Day and on USF Day. So basically, bringing more students up and possibly working with the Alumni Association to have students and alumni emailing their representatives, if that makes sense. Then also develop a think tank. So one important thing I realized today is that a lot of people have great ideas, but that's where it ends. So people like bring them up and they expect for people to carry it on. But a think tank will allow the people to brainstorm and then hopefully follow up and actually make those ideas come true. And follow up on 10th day results. So maybe bringing some iPads out and letting people sign up so that they can actually see that their submission regarding blue lights is being addressed by us sending out a newsletter. We're adding 3 more blue lights to campus, for example. Another thing I noticed that would possibly improve USF, I didn't add this here, is I don't know if you guys are familiar with work orders in residence halls, and for IT they have work orders as well. Possibly creating something like that, but then for the overall school. So let's say, for example, you drive this road on USF every day and you notice a pothole that hasn't been fixed for 2-3 months, and you want to address it. You can just submit, like a form to that portal, whether it be an app or an online website, possibly even like attach a picture, and then the administration or whoever is in charge can tell you, oh, we're working on it and it's been fixed. So it's just something that will allow students to actually see that we're, taking care of what they want to, be taken care of. All right, and why should you vote? Experience. I've been in Senate for a while. I'll be back next year, so I feel like I am experienced with the position. Dedication.
Give me
A minute? Okay.
Sure.
Dedication. I've already been in touch with Coco about the position. We're actually meeting, so I'm really dedicated to, getting the necessary documents for the position. Connections. I have multiple connections in student affairs. So Todd Wells, CLCE, Edna Miller, in the Center for Student Involvement, academics academics with deans of my colleges and chairs, and also the community. And then ability to critically and logically analyze situations through my science and research classes. I feel like I've earned that, and being a servant leader through my service, and leading by example. And I'm also familiar with rules of procedure, Title IV, and Robert's Rules of Order, having chaired for my fraternity and other meetings. So, any questions?
Any point of clarification? Anything? Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robert. Thank you, sir. Alright, so you have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes. With 1 minute left, I'll give you 1 tap. 30 seconds left, I'll give you 2 taps. Once you've exhausted your time, you'll have 3 taps and about 5 seconds to wrap up. Any questions? Alright, once you start.
Hello everybody, my name is Omar Abunamous and I'd like to run for the chair for UCGA. A little bit of bio about me here at USF. I'm currently a junior. I'm majoring in International Business/Affairs. I'm in the program for National Competitive Intelligence under Professor Andrew Sisson. And for those of you who don't know Professor Andrew Sisson, he's really well connected with the government and politics. He used to work under the Bush administration in the White House. He worked under Obama administration. He actually planned Obama's trip to Europe recently. And he's really well connected with the FBI, CIA, so on and so forth. So he's a really good connection if you want to further your career after graduation. I also serve as the Florida Council Representative to the Muslim Student Association, that's the MSA. I'm pretty much, my role in that is to keep MSA involved with MSA National, MSA Florida Council, and I also serve as their political chair. Also, MSA, I believe, is the second largest organization on campus, and they also have the second largest budget, around $12,000. My future goals. After graduation, I really want to work for the State Department as a foreign ambassador overseas, probably in an Arabic-speaking country. I'm American born and raised. This is my country. However, I have a Middle Eastern background, and I know Arabic fluently. So I feel like I can bridge the gap, and I'd be a really good asset to the United States Department overseas. The countries I would work in, probably Egypt, Syria, Palestine, Jordan, if the war stopped, and for an embassy over there. After my my foreign service abroad, I plan on returning back to the States and running for public office. If I stay local, I might be mayor of Temple Terrace. If I go on the state level, we're looking at the House, state level, the Senate state level. The House has about 120 seats, the Senate has about 50, so I think I have a pretty good chance, depending on the district. Some relevant experience. I've been an active member in multiple legislative committees since I was elected. This semester, I sit on roll call for JEC, special funding, and rules. I've also gone to appropriations a couple times. I've been to ASARC multiple times. So I feel like I'm really well-rounded within all the committees. I've also lived in the dorms. I was also an RA. When I first came in, I was in the Freshman Summer Institute, and I used to live in JP. Through that program, I got to meet hundreds of students. Then I moved on into Castro, I met another couple hundred. Then I became an RA. We'll put me at 1,000 or something. So one of the roles for the UCGA chairman is to be well engaged with the students on campus. So through my dorm life, through being an RA, I feel like I know a lot of people. Even if I choose not to talk to them right now, I know them, and if I need to be engaged with them, I could be. I previously owned and operated my own simple mobile cell phone store. It's a funny story behind that one. Back in the fall of 2012, I used to work with some buddies at University Mall, and they had their own simple mobile kiosk. However, I felt like they weren't really running it too well. They were kind of like drug addicts and like to party a lot. So after I gained a lot of relevant experience, I decided to open up one on my own. So I talked to a business partner of mine. He said, I'll give you the money, you put in the time, we'll split it 50-50. So I opened up a store. I dropped out of school all of 2012. And the store went well. I had it for about 3 months. And unfortunately, my business partner went to prison. So since my business partner went to prison, I decided it was a good time to close the store and come back to school. I came back in January 2013. I became an RA, a senator, and I'm seeing you here before you today. Next, I work with an organization off campus called the United Voices for America. This organization is about getting minorities involved in the political process. So a big project I helped them with recently was Muslim Capital Day. I helped organize it. That's where we got hundreds of people all over the state of Florida to Tallahassee. We had people from Jacksonville, Ocala, Gainesville, Orlando, Pensacola, Panama City, and Tampa. I myself helped organize over 100 people from here to Tallahassee. 3 reasons we went. 1 minute? Sir? Okay. Three of the reasons we went was, one, to fight legislation we felt was kind of biased towards minorities here in America. Another reason we went was just to meet with our local representatives, state representatives, House, senators, so on and so forth. And the third reason we went was to get ourselves involved in the political process. Pretty much, like I have the passion to be a politician. We want to show other people in the state of Florida that a politician could be a possible career goal for yourself, you know? See it, enjoy it, get a taste for it, get a feel for it. My availability. I'm taking 4 classes, which is full-time. 2 are online, the others are in person. Last time you guys heard a little bit about how I go to class, we won't need to go into that in detail, but yes, I have time to have 1 committee meeting and put in as many hours a week as it needs to be. Lastly, just a small short recap.
5 seconds.
You can read the words. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I don't know if it'll work because yours is online.
Yeah, it's a Google Doc. I love Google Docs. They work. I think top left under view. No, that was
Oh, sorry. Alright, you'll have 5 minutes. 1 tap at 1 minute left, 2 taps 30 seconds left, and 3 taps when you've exhausted all your time. Other than 5 seconds to wrap at the end, do you have any questions?
Nope, good.
Cool, go ahead when you're ready.
Alrighty, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Gustavo Lopez. So I'll just go through real quick. This is pretty much just like a snippet of me right now. This is my 2nd year here, finishing up my 2nd year. I'm a junior in classifications, 3.36 GPA. I'm a biomedical science major with a psychology minor. I'm also in the honors college, and I was pre-dental when I first got here, but then talking to Ali and other people for a while, I'm kind of wavering over to med for some reason. I don't know, we'll see after this.
So far, I've been in student government since my first semester here. Oh yeah, that's here up there. What's it called? When I first got to USF, one of my really good friends from high school convinced me to run for Senate. I mean, we were both freshmen, first semester. I mean, we just did it for the fun of it, and we were both lucky enough to get in. So this will, as my second year is ending, this is also my second year in student government with youth Senate. In that time, I first was in special fundings under Adam, and then I moved on to appropriations and audits under Zane, and then I'm currently in the rules committee with Ali. I was involved in the ad hoc committee for the student memorial with Brown before they decided to go in a different direction with it and try to get more involvement from different branches. And then I also attended USF Capitol. That's me and Justice Alexis Garza there in the Capitol. It was a great day. Besides being involved in student government, this is my involvement outside of student government. I would say actively, I'm very involved in my fraternity. I'm currently vice president of my fraternity. I play the violin for the orchestra in the College of Medicine. And then some of these things like the National Society of Collegiate Scholars and National Society of Leadership and Success, that was just kind of like, I got invited to it, I followed through with it, but I'm not as active in those anymore. But that's my involvement outside of campus. I'm not just within SG, I try to spread myself around to different parts of campus. And then last but not least, my goals. I know that it's only like 2 or 3 weeks from now that this term will be over if I do get elected, but my goals for right now is preparing a transition. So I would hope to talk to Coco and see what he wants to do as the leaving chair and as the incoming president, to see what he wants to do, because I think even though this isn't the legislative branch, it does have a lot to do with the exec branch, because they are outreaching to the community and seeing what they want. I mean, we are the government for the students, not really here for ourselves. So I just want to look into that, see what he wants to do and how we can do that. A way that I'm going to do that is being proactive. I think a common thing I hear from this committee is, or not from this committee, but from other committee chairs or people in the Senate is, oh, did we get a survey on that? If we're trying to pass something or propose things. I feel like a good thing would be for the exec branch, or like the executive chairman within Senate and also the executive branch and judicial branch to be talking and just being proactive. So if someone thinks of something before we even bring it to the floor, we can already have a template ready and we can go and execute it and get the input instead of waiting 2 or 3 weeks from now to actually get that going. And then outside of that, communication and connections within the branches. I feel like that's always something we preach, that the branches aren't connected, that we all kind of do our own separate thing, we aren't together. And like I mentioned earlier, this committee really does connect all the branches. I mean, it's hard to connect to the judicial branch, but they are always out there and talking. So I mean, they have the advice to give to whoever is coming into this chair to better themselves, I guess, and outreach to the students. So yeah, that's it.
My name is Aisha Ali, and I'm running for
So you have 5 minutes?
UCGA and chairwoman. My goal is to promote a healthy USF community outwise, socially, physically, economically, to improve the academic life of USF students, and to advocate for them through tuition and other college costs that will reduce financial strain that result from a college education. As a chairwoman, I will evaluate the potential effects of every policy, program, or project on the health of every USF student. I will empower USF students to pursue increased work study hours, which will enable them to have increased source of income that will pay for some of their college materials. I will collaborate to improve the school sports and other organizations, such as sororities, multicultural, and many more, to improve the social health of USF students. Lastly, I will use my nursing skills to do everything in my power to promote the physical health of USF students. This could come in the form of putting in place safety measures such as longer duration of lightning at night. To improve USF as a community, I will keep up with the last administration effective leadership. 10 days will provide the framework for identifying the problem and needs of USF students. After I identify this problem and needs, I will implement interventions that will meet the needs of USF students. As a chairwoman, I will evaluate the potential effect of every policy, program, or project on the outcome of students. What is my involvement? What experience do I have? I'm the community service chairperson for African Students Association. I'm the education and research chairperson for maternal and child student organization at College of Public Health, and I'm a nursing student senator. My work experience, I work briefly as a nurse taker for students with developmental disabilities. I work as a patient care technician for agency for people with developmental disabilities from summer of 2012 to present. African Student Association, I coordinate volunteer activities. I volunteer in places like shelters for victims of domestic violence, Medical Farmers Committee, ASA Taste of Africa, USF Stampede of Service, Relay for Life. My work as an educational researcher, every month I write newsletters on autism, dental fluorosis, birth defects, prematurity, childhood obesity. As a nursing senator, I support policies, programs, projects, or funding. Everybody knows this, so I'll just move on. Will my schedule permit me to work full-time as a chairwoman? Well, these are everything that I just evaluate. I kind of have like 30 hours working, doing paid job and unpaid job right now. A full-time registered nurse job requires working 12-hour shift for 3 days, that is 36 hours. Currently, my clinical hours is 12 hours, and my current working hours is 24. My current working hours is 12, so that makes 24. These hours will substitute for my RN job, that's a registered nurse. After graduation, I'll be working part-time as RN for 24 hours. Being a chairwoman requires 20 hours, sorry. I spend an average 12 hours per week in school involvement, ASA, MCHSO, and SG. After graduation, I'll be attending school full-time. Instead of attending school full-time after graduation, I'll be working part-time as an RN, and we have an estimated 12 hours off from schoolwork. In total, I have 24 hours left to work as a chairwoman. Other questions you may have for me? Well, I'm graduating in the summer of 2014. How will I remain a USL student? I know I am minoring in chemistry to meet my remaining medical school admission requirements, even though I'm a nursing student, and I will explain that very soon. Why did I choose a career-specific degree like nursing when you know you'll be moving on to medical school? Firstly, I've barely lived in the US for 5 years, and prior to USL College of Nursing admission, I had no clinical experience. Nursing school provided me with the clinical experience I needed for direct patient care. I wanted to become a registered nurse because I simply love the art of caregiving. After graduating nursing school, I intend to work part-time as an RN in my first year post-graduation and full-time in my second year post-graduation. Working for 2 years as an RN will help me save money for some of my medical school expenses. Okay. Am I contributing to excessive hours? No. I began school in January 2011 and I'm graduating in 3 years. I have 1 more year to graduate, and that I'll be spending using to minor chemistry.
Thank you. It doesn't matter how you stand up. I have like the list right here. Alright, we're now in questioning. If someone would like to open the questioning forum. Senator Aldridge.
Alright, see, most of you, if not all of you, talked about the 10 days a little bit. I guess if you could talk about in the next couple weeks you'll be the chair before the end of the term, can you talk about what you'll be able to do to help sort of reconcile all the information in the surveys and what you'd like to put forward in terms of maybe plans of action or a specific path forward based off some of the documents or some of the results over the 10 days, over the past month.
Before you start really quick, could I have a time that you'd like to allocate for answering questions? Whatever your form would be. 1 minute? Any objection to 1 minute answering? Ms. Pellegrino?
30 seconds.
Do you accept the friendly amendment? 30 seconds?
Yeah.
30 seconds. Any other objection? 30 seconds per answer. Seeing none, we'll move on. Mr. Hartman, you have 30 seconds.
Alright, thank you. Good question. So the goal of these results is to gather them, analyze them, and deliver them to the appropriate authorities. So, for example, the safety one, bring it to fiscal plan and administration so they can, address lighting, crosswalk safety and such. And for example, today's 10th day, it was a very broad one, but the goal of that is to basically see what students are really interested in, so that for future 10th days we can focus more on that by making a 10th day specifically about that topic.
Thanks, sir. And moving on down, Mr. Abelino.
I would compile the results from the surveys, like you said, take them to the necessary people in charge. Also, I would try to brainstorm for new surveys that we need to do. I think it's too late to start any new initiatives. However, I feel like we can begin to think what students may need to look at or start some new surveys for the future.
15. Okay. Mr. Lopez.
So like I mentioned earlier, working on transition-wise, I would look at the data and of course, anything specific enough to get to the appropriate person to take care of the incentives, you just move it from there. But besides that, I would just continue to work with the previous chair and the new administration just to see what their goals are in the upcoming term, and just kind of brainstorm and see from this past 10th day, you said that it was a very broad 10th day and like things that they were bringing in, so just go from there and see what the students want and also what the administration wants to bring forward from there so we can plan for next term.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. O'Leary.
Well, I will evaluate all of those ideas and opinions, and I'll check their feasibility. Then I'll send the most specific ones, the ones that we can actually carry out at the Senate. Then I will send that to reduce the workload of people who are in charge, and they will evaluate that and use that in judgment, either to implement or to determine.
Mr. Kenton.
Okay. Maybe seems kind of a strange question, but that's really the point to it. Hypothetically, you're driving along on a dark, rainy night. You pass a bus stop, and at the bus stop are 3 people. An old lady who's near death, an old friend who saved your life at one time, and finally, your perfect partner of your dreams. You have a car with a bucket seat. It can only fit 1 passenger. Who do you pick up?
Who are the 3 people?
A best friend who saved your life, an old lady who's very near to death, and your perfect partner. Like the woman and or man of your dreams.
How this is relevant?
How it is a question meant to test their ability to think creatively and their moral and ethical character.
Could I? So, if I answer the senator's question. If I answer the senator's question.
Please, hold on. It would have been efficient had it been a lot shorter and much more to the point, and they don't remember the question you just asked them, pretty much.
Oh, you don't remember the question?
I'm telling you, it was too long.
I think I can give the senator the correct answer.
Wait.
You can pick up one person, one of these people, they all need a ride. Who do you pick up?
Are all of you willing to answer the question? If not, it's fine. I don't mind. Like nothing is. Come on. You can even come here and answer in my ear or something.
I think it's fine.
Alright, cool. Alright. Cool. And you're all ready. So Ms. O'Leary, go ahead.
This committee that I'm running for is not about rules, it's not about judgment wise, it's about doing things for people you love, doing things and caring for other people. So my partner is going to be eliminated because it's just my partner. The old woman that is very old, she's a lost cause. I'm sorry. But my best friend who saved my life, if my best friend supports me at home, physically, emotionally, I'll be able to function well at work.
Thank you, ma'am. 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm trying to remember the 3 people, but when he was asking the question, I just thought the person who I owe a favor to, I will give them the car and they can drive the old lady to wherever she needs to go afterwards. And I'll stay with my 1-year-old afterwards there just because, I mean, why not? Rain or shine, I'm going to be with them. So it's fine.
15 seconds. Thank you. Mr. Mr. Hartman. Or, Mr. Abunas, I'm sorry, just the orders. Mr. Abunas.
I would definitely take the partner. If my friend really was my true friend, he would look out for me and let me pick my partner. And the old lady is pretty old, so she lived a good life. So. She probably had a partner, and she was one of the people that have partners too.
And Mr. Hartman.
I think Gustavo pretty much answered it like the right way, but if I had to do something different, I'd probably tell my friend, you know, to like help out the old lady, maybe like have her sit on his lap and tell the girl like I'll give you a call after I'm done from the hospital. And, you know, like we're good to go.
I can't remember the YouTube video.
Mr. Gold.
Can you just go through and say yes or no to whether or not you would realize that you included her?
Mr. Robinson.
Yes, I was reelected for minister.
Thank you, sir.
We asked.
Mr. Levy. Or Miss Levy, I'm sorry, Miss Levy.
No, I was not.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, I was.
And Mr. Hartman.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Brown.
Alright. I've served on UCGA this past year and last term as the vice chair. So I think out of all the chair positions in Senate, I think this one is unique in the fact that you have to have a lot of connections with campus administration to be able to pull off a lot of activities and events. So could you just emphasize or elaborate further on what connections you have within administration?
Okay. Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Lopez.
I feel like connection to administrators, not an extensive amount, but at least when you guys saw like my involvement on campus, I am involved in different branches to where if I don't know the person, I can meet the person and go from there. And also another point I brought up was trying to promote connection between the branches. And I mean, of course, everyone knows that Coke is connected to pretty much everyone on a first name basis. So even if I wasn't connected to someone, I can easily go up, ask who the person is, find them, and get the job done.
Thank you. And just I'll tap the 5 seconds so I don't keep it around you. I'm sorry. Alright. Mr. Hartman.
Presentation, I know a few people on campus, so a lot of people in Student Life Tower. And for example, like if I don't know the person, I would find out through my resources, you know, what their email address is, or speak to somebody in, you know, the student government suite, like Coco, who knows everybody, to possibly act like a mutual friend to introduce us.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Levy.
My closest link to the administration is my advisor in the committee. So that's the first person I will talk to who can refer me to other administrative members.
Thank you. And Mr. Abundru.
I'm still pretty well connected with the people I work for in housing, my old RLC. I know a lot of the RAs, so it's a pretty good connection. Also, I'm in a lot of organizations, so I'm pretty close with Andrew Miller and other people in that department. I'm also close with Mr. Gary Menka, who is in charge of Esgato, your Senate President, your Pro Tempore, and the rest of the chairman, so I feel pretty well connected other than that. Otherwise, I get to know people really quick.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Florence.
So this is kind of like a 2-week thing before the new Senate comes in, and you all are really involved with everything else. How do you plan on balancing all your other involvements, plus finals, plus this job, and actually getting it done like the right way?
Mr. Hartman.
Good question. So I've already spoken to Coco, and we're actually having a meeting to, I guess, see, you know, what exactly it entails besides what I've already seen so far. And I plan on using him as a mentor to help me through the process. Other than that, I've been a member of the committee, so I feel like I'm pretty comfortable and confident in fulfilling the duties. If I ever need help, I'll, you know, contact the right authorities. And as you saw by my schedule, I do have a lot of time in between classes and such, so I think that should give me plenty of time to do the job right.
Thank you, sir.
I don't feel like there's that much left in this semester to do. I pretty much be brainstorming new ideas, talking to the committee, see what they want to do for the next semester. As of commitments, I don't have that much. I mean, I'm on Senate and the other committees. If I'm a chairman, do I sit on the other committees as well?
You can.
But also I sit on them if I have time. I mean, we get 20 hours a week worth of work, so I mean, we have a lot of time to do stuff. 2 of my classes are online, one of them auditorium. I mean, I go to 2 classes a week pretty much, that's it. I don't work anymore, so I'm pretty free other than that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lopez.
Earlier I mentioned like all the things I was involved in on campus. Probably half of those were actually like active things that I'm involved in. but the thing is, all of those things will be ending by this week. So for example, like the Met School Orchestra, the concert is this coming week, so that'll be done. And with my fraternity, our annual reports are due by the beginning of next week also. So even though I am very involved, everything's kind of like coming to an end already. So from there, I have all my free time during the week to commit to studying and to coming in and transitioning myself if I were to become.
Thank you. Ms. Olivia.
Currently, my class schedule is only on Wednesday from 9:30 to 3 p.m. Monday, I just completed my clinical hours, so I have free 12 hours of 3 days on Monday. Tuesdays, I dedicated this to Senate and my committee, DCGA, and Thursdays, I'm free. Friday, I'm free, except weekends I can work.
Thank you. Senator Priest.
So what's a specific skill or piece of knowledge that you think that you have that best suits to you?
Mr. Urban.
I would say that I'm definitely passionate about politics, passionate about engaging the USF student body, and passionate about moving forward. I mean, I'm coming back in the Senate next year. I'm hopefully running for another chairman position come April 22nd. So definitely it's my passion. And I'm going to put forth in my job whatever I do, whether it be work, volunteer, organizational. I put up my fullest and my foremost and make sure to get the job done.
Even though I did not run for Senate because I came in midterm, I will be working for this community will give me the opportunity to do what I like to do, the heart of caregiving, caring for others and looking out for their needs and implementing their needs and carrying out what they need, taking care of other people. That's what I like as the chairwoman of this committee.
I feel like my biggest quality to bring to this position would be approachability. Just because, like I said earlier, it's all about communicating. I mean, there's a problem, I need to hear it, and if you can't come up to that person to talk to them about it, how's it gonna get done? And same with if I were the chairman, if my committee couldn't come up to me and talk to me, how would we successfully execute the 10th day? How will I be able to teach them to also be approachable so students can come in and voice their opinions, and then from there, making sure that other branches are fine with coming to me with advice or help, and then reciprocated too.
Mr. Hartley.
My biggest skill would be my resourcefulness, because instead of, like, for example, in a case where I need to find something out or get something done, instead of emailing somebody and waiting the 48 hours for them to reply, I usually figure it out on my own through whatever avenues I have, whether it be usf.edu or any other like websites or just people through the phone and stuff. I would say that that's my biggest skill, because sometimes things are of the essence time-wise, and you can't just like wait for somebody to reply to make things happen.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Love.
What type of, senator or not, what type of involvement do you foresee yourself being in what kind of involvement do you foresee in SG next year? You plan certain committees, going to committee meetings, being chairman, anything of that sort, the future you see?
Ms. Olivia.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
What type of future involvement do you see in SG?
In the future, I want to be able to represent the students and carry out their needs and their ideas and use that idea and implement what they need, like let them see what they actually want in school. I also want to work with the Senate committees and everybody else to like make the best of the USF community as well.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez.
I was actually considering running for this committee chair, just because, like I mentioned earlier, it is a little different than the other 4 committees that we have in Senate. There's just so much outreach to it, which is something that I do love about student government. How I mentioned earlier that it's about the students and it's not about us. So those are my goals pretty much for next term, was to run for that, and if not, just to maybe hopefully get into that committee, since it's one of the few committees I haven't been involved in. And then, I mean, I still have 2 years, so maybe from there, hopefully, maybe move into exec branch or just continue within the Senate.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Urban.
I'm coming back next year. I plan on running for one of the open committees, hopefully. Not really sure which one yet, but yeah, those are my goals.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hartley.
I would like to join the leadership as well, just so I can like make use of the experience I've had with the Senate so far. provide it to all the new senators, whether it is, through providing my phone number so they can reach out to me whenever it is, or just helping out by being a mentor or like having a workshop, for example. So definitely something leadership to help out others and advance SG as a whole.
Thank you, sir. Senator Aziz and Ms. Pellegrino and Mr. Moran.
Alright, my question is, the second half of the committee is the government affairs part. And to the best of your knowledge, which legislative issue are you most like kept up on and like learned about this year?
Mr. Harper.
I would say this year the issue would be the in-state tuition for undocumented students. I'm a part of a Latino Greek organization and also of other multicultural organizations, and it's just something that's very big among us. So like, even though that's not like an SG group, it's still something that we discuss and would like to advance. So I would say that's the issue that I'm most well knowledge on.
Do you mean resolutions by the state or by the university, like within SG or state legislation?
It's legislative issues in Tallahassee or locally.
Okay. Well, within Tallahassee, I was following a state resolution 894. I actually went to Tallahassee to go combat that because I felt it was it kind of infringed on the rights of public speaking for certain minorities or certain organizations. Had that resolution passed, which it did unfortunately, they're still going to vote on it within committee, I believe, next week in Senate, state Senate that is. It could actually undermine one of the organizations on campus. I won't go into too many details, not that necessary here, but I
You can run.
Oh, okay. But yes, I do know how to track a bill and I do follow a lot of legislation coming out of Tallahassee.
Mr. Lopez.
One of the biggest things I was really interested about, which I learned a lot during USA Day at the Capitol, was the Heart Institute that's going to be coming in. And I mean, not only the way it's going to excel as a university and just how it's going to attract a lot more students in the future, but I am from Tampa, and just hearing like families and friends I know who are in like the medical career-wise, they're just excited to be moving into there and hopefully just sparking jobs, sparking a future. And I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I followed at least this past term.
Well, what I'm really passionate about was the adult committee about creating the student memorial, because I kind of feel like they were part of the USF community, and because of that we should honor them and give them their proper respect.
Ms. Pellegrino.
Just a really quick answer, yes or no. Do you guys have experience chairing meetings?
Mr. Lopez.
Meetings.
Within student government, no, but within my fraternity, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Harper.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Pellegrino.
So can I ask you to restate that?
Do you have any experience chairing meetings, not necessarily like committee meetings in student government, just in general?
Do you mean e-board or president?
Just any meeting.
ASA, African Student Association, I'm the chairperson. MCHSO, I'm the executive board, and we are having a symposium in April, and we are going to teach everybody about problems affecting women and children. And yeah.
And Ms. Pellegrino.
I've chaired MSA meetings, I've chaired United Voices meetings, and I've also chaired JEC meetings.
Mr. Moran.
Okay, so a big part of UCGA is surveys, and one thing that has come up often in surveys is transparency within student government. And so rather than ask you what you do to promote transparency, I would like you to show a little bit of transparency right now. Just share your middle names with us.
Oh, okay.
I'll not accept that question.
I think if there are no further questions, I think we're kind of moving right now.
Any objections to ending questioning? Seeing none, any questions? Alright. You're all saying, we're gonna discuss.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, endorsements, or well, or you could have pro con, like just a moderated caucus where you can just talk about anything, including the positions first, and then move into endorsements. If you'd like to elaborate on the position, if not, because you only have 2 weeks left. That's pretty much what I'm trying to get at. So if you guys would like to discuss what qualifications you're looking for as a Senate, and then move into pro con, or I mean not pro con, but endorsements, or you move into endorsements. I'm just talking until you guys make a motion there. Ms. Pellegrino.
Motion to move into endorsements.
How many endorsements would you like per, excuse me?
1, 2, 2.
2 endorsements per person?
Candidate, yes.
Any objection to 2 endorsements per person? How much would you like the speaking time to be?
1 minute speaking time.
1 minute speaking time. Any objections? Seeing none. Alright. Mr. Hartman, endorsements. Ms. Pellegrino. Mr. Abanamoose.
No. Hartman.
Okay, Ms. Albert. Mr. Abanamoose. Thank you. Mr. Lopez. Mr. Cruz. And Mr. Lee. Alright. Chief. A maybe? 0. Sorry. That's wrong. Thank you. Alright. Miss. No one. Miss Ron. So then.
Can you repeat the names of who's endorsing what candidate, please? Thank you.
For Mr. Hartman, you have Ms. Pellegrino and Ms. Abraham. For Mr. Abanamoose, you have Mr. Antar. For Mr. Lopez, you have Ms. Kitty and Mr. Priest. And for Ms. Alimi, you have Ms. Ron. Thank you. Alright, you'll have 1 minute. You know the procedure. We'll have Mr. Hartman, Ms. Pellegrino.
Good evening, Senate. First of all, they're all great candidates. But Mr. Hartman, the thing that really stand out for me was that, first of all, he has the connections to administrations. He already knows people. He already has those resources, which is very difficult when you actually have to build those relationships. He already has those relationships, which is, I believe, it's fundamental for this position. And another thing is that he has initiatives. A lot of them mention initiatives, but he has a plan. He has actually concrete, palpable initiatives that he would like to develop in this. I know it's a really short time, on 2 weeks, but it only shows of his dedication, his professionalism, and his really desire to be part of this. Is that it?
15 seconds.
15 seconds. He also has the time and his past experience within student government, and he was re-elected as well, but pretty much all of them were. So I do believe he's a great candidate for this position.
Thank you. Mr. Abanamoose, Mr. Antar.
I feel like y'all have already heard my spiel on Mr. Abanamoose at our last elections, but Mr. Abanamoose is in my committee rules. He's been there a brief time, but in the time that he's been there, he's been an utmost professional in alerting me of his absences and his intended work. And when he is there, which is the majority of the time, I would say, in case of my previous speech, have you believing that he wasn't there the majority of the time. But when he is there, he speaks very well, he's very professional, and he brings up very valid points. Asks very valid questions, he's inquisitive, and I recommend this position without hesitation.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lopez, Ms. Kitty.
Okay, so as we've all said, all these candidates are of course qualified, as we should be as members of the Senate. However, Mr. Gustavo Lopez, I've known him for 2 terms now. I've served on committee with him as equal as well as his chair, and in both instances he's been wonderful. I think he's one of the most caring, the most open people I've ever met in Senate, and I think that serves you well in this committee. As well, he's expressed his interest in the position to me, not only in these 2 weeks, but also in the upcoming year. And I think the transition period is of utmost importance. So, because of those reasons, I urge you to vote for him for this chair position.
Thank you. Ms. Alimi, Ms. Rowe.
Hi everyone. So the reason I chose to
endorse Ms. Lynn is because as she was speaking, I saw how passionate she was for this position, and through every question, I really felt like she was being herself, being honest. And with the 2 weeks left, even though she's not going to be reelected for the next term, I think this is an opportunity she's taken upon herself to grow as senator. This is the last thing she wants to do in Senate, and I think that we should honor her that opportunity since she won't be coming back next year to do it like the others will have a chance to run for the position the next term. She will not. So that was one of the reasons I chose to endorse her. Also, she looks so innocent and pure, and when it comes to these political things, that's the kind of person you want to have in that kind of position. Having no other interests or personal benefits that come out of the position, so I really recommend her for the position. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Hartman, Ms. Alvarado.
Alright, so Mr. Hartman has been a great guy throughout this whole thing. I've gotten the chance to know him this term, but he served 2 terms before us, I believe. And so far, he's actually said, when I've spoken to him about being chair, he's held out for this position for a little while, and I just think he's actually finally ready for it. Before, he didn't actually want to jump into something before he was ready for it, and he felt like he had the background and the knowledge and the involvement to do so. But this time, he's fully ready and ready to get this. So I think he's very qualified and should get this done.
Thank you. And Mr. Lopez, Mr. Cruz.
Alright, so I have no personal bias with any board of these senators because I just don't, because I really don't know them very well. However, I'm basically go off of what they said as well as just interactions I've had with them. So that's why I decided to endorse Senator Lopez just based off of his presentation. First thing I think is very important is he's the only senator that's actually been on 3 other committees. I think that's very important to take note of. He knows how committees work. No, he's not been like a chair of any of them, but he's also been a chair outside of that. So I think that's something important to look at. Moving forward, I'm coming at this from a communicative aspect because I'm a comm major. Approachability is a huge thing. I think out of all of those candidates, he's one of the most approachable people, and people would want to interact with him and talk to him. And then moving forward, he also speaks very well, and that's something also like when it comes to 10 days, you want students to be able to approach somebody that is fun, is going to smile at them, and is going to make them feel encouraged to participate. So that's why I'm endorsing Senator Lopez.
Thank you. Alright, you've exhausted all speakers for endorsements. Do you want to, you're off for this sorry. Ms. Pellegrino.
Motion to move into voting. Motion to enter voting.
Okay, can you just double check and put these people on hold real quick? Alright, so looking at the clicker. Procedure is going to be 1 is Mr. Hartman, 2 is Mr. Benamoose, 3 is Mr. Lopez, 4 is Ms. Alimi, and 5 is the abstain. Got it? Alright, well, any objections to moving the voting procedures? Seeing none. I don't know at all. Hold on, it's not even working. person missing, roughly?
Ashley Richards did not vote.
I did.
Thursday is off. And Gary Cox.
Mr. Cox. Thank you, sir. Alright. The vote's not, I mean, no, it's still not, it's not anything, guys, so everyone else. There's a three-way runoff, it's beautiful, okay. Alright. I'll explain in a second, just calm down, think about it. So what you have here is and would you like to make any more points of discussion? Because obviously you're not decided as a Senate. It would make no sense to just move into voting unless you're just going to vote purely based off of that's the next responsibility.
I have a question.
Senator Freeman.
So somebody has to win by
50% plus one vote.
Yeah.
And right now your quorum is set to 34. You need 18 people. Senator Orange.
So, historically, it's happened where we vote until we get down to two, and if there's no majority, then I can understand going back to discussing it. But almost every vote I've ever been in.
Sure, no, that's fine.
Vote, I would like to go ahead and go back to voting on the top four.
Any objection to moving into voting procedures? Seeing none. One is for Mr. Hartman, 2 is for Mr. Obedemus, 3 is for Mr. Lopez, 4 is to abstain. Mr. Bowles? Bull? Mr. Cassidy?
Sorry.
It's everybody. 31 again? Did the votes count? Okay. Yeah, I gotta duplicate this slide. Senator Rodriguez.
I would like to move to go into the third round.
Sure. Any objection to moving into voting procedures? Seeing none. 1 is for Mr. Hartman, 2 is for Mr. Lopez, and 3 is to abstain. Would they vote? There you go. The vote now. Well, who else abstained?
I mistracked.
Just wait.
For the record, I meant to vote for Senator Lopez.
Alright, that's fine. Case noted. Alright. So vote counts of 11 to 19 to 1. Mr. Lopez will be your next UCGA chair. Let me let him in. And Mr. Coco, could I actually have you do the honors of giving him the gavel and reading the oath?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Would you recommend it? You can clap them. You can let them all listen, but you know, figure out another clap for them.
Let's just clap for them all.
Well, actually, tell them. President-elect Coco.
Sorry. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats. student government of the University of South Florida.
as a member of the student government of the University of South Florida. I, Gustavo Hernan Lopez.
Do hereby affirm.
Do hereby affirm.
To uphold the office of.
To uphold the office of UCTA Community Chairman.
To abide by the student body constitution.
To abide by the student body constitution.
To uphold the statutes incorporated therein.
To uphold the statutes incorporated therein.
And to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
And to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Chairman.
Thank you. I won't break it.
Sir. Alright, moving on down this beautiful agenda. HVAC final bill. Oh, I mean, you want the PowerPoint?
Okay guys, how's everybody doing today?
Woo!
Cool. Again, everybody saw this last week. Because it's such a big bill, I would recommend going through it again. The numbers that is. When we reach the memo of agreement, I would recommend dispersing. However, that is up to you. Anyway, annual budget bill 2014-2015 presented to you by the ASAR committee. Again, the numbers we have allocated this year, the funding sources, $14,665,073. Our allocation is $14,665,073 for the 14-15 fiscal year. These are the categories, we'll go through them item by item. So the grand total for student affairs is $10,063,910.
Do whatever fashion you want.
Would you guys like me to go through all of the entities?
No.
Okay. So I will give you sufficient time to read them. Sorry, I just coffee.
Future student.
Okay.
Mr. Priest.
So just off the top of your head, do you know that extra roughly $200,000 in campus rec is going
Mr. Aldridge can answer that for me.
Mr. Aldridge.
About 140,000 of that is going to salary increases. Well, okay, close to 100,000. 100,000 is going to the salary increases that are mainly across all of the staff, and then the other big chunk of it is going toward putting our campus equipment, all the different, bikes and treadmills and all that sort of stuff, put it on rotation. So this amount, instead of putting one big amount of recovery like $500,000 or $600,000, the number is about $80,000, $68,000. Thank you, $64,000. And so it'll be $64,000 each year to do it continual maintenance of all one time.
If you guys like background.
For the Marshall Center, the amount that they have, does that also include for renovations to the Marshall Center, or do they have a separate account or a separate entity for that?
That does not include renovations. That does not come out of maintenance.
Okay.
Does anyone have any other questions about the student affairs portion of the budget?
Great question, Kevin.
Okay, seeing nothing, I'll proceed. Student government, we have a total of $5,106 to these entities. Again, I'll give you sufficient time to read them. Any questions?
No questions done when it comes to 14.6. Miss Clark.
For the computer services, does that include the funds for printing, or does that come from?
Printing funds come from our special projects line item, so it's the $667,000. it's a contract that is incorporated.
And I had a question about that, cause it's
Yes, ma'am.
$2.50, right? And they only give you 22 pages to print, but that isn't $2.50. So why don't they just give you the proper amount for 22 pages instead of wasting that? Like, I think it's like 80 cents.
Yeah, it's like
So
it's
why
like for
don't
the
they give you
OCD person or
$2.42
everything.
instead of giving you $2.50?
We can talk to them about it. It's just 250 is their round number. They can just be like $2.50 allocated. Again, we can go talk to them.
It's a waste of 8 cents for 20 bucks.
It's not really a waste because you're not going to use it. It's just bothersome, it's really, because we're not actually putting money onto your cards. It's just how much you can print. Mr. Priest.
Okay, so for USF Dance Capital this year we spent $74,200. Next year aiming for the same thing, but at the same time, aren't we expecting that to grow? So why aren't we increasing that?
Well, first, it's also part of it is for the contract we have with the advising with consultants. The consultants, I believe 60,000 of it is for the consultant. Then it's the bus and the whole setup for just a data capital. If there was a planned growth, you'd leave it for the next executive branch who would be posting it to request it as a supplement to this already allocated total. So right now what's happening is Mr. Wormke has said this is how much we used, it worked. If they have any more plans in future growth, they'll come. No different than Mr. Wormke did with this spreadsheet. Alright. Mr. Gilo, did you have a question?
I was gonna make a comment on that print thing. I think 250 is fine, because those who actually use all the prints and typically just go over and pay their own money, so 8 cents actually helps them. But
Okay. Mr. Bowles.
I just want to point out that I went on to use the data capital and there was extra room in the buses. So we're fine with that.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Questions? This is the budget you guys should know the best because pretty much you spend it.
Moving along to student organizations, we have $746,957 allocated. This one's a little bit simpler. So student councils 45,236, sports clubs 230,000, college medicine 84,000, and all other student organizations $387,721.
Just for Ms. Coulon.
Could you go back for a second? Could you tell me the reason why Safe Team's budget is being dropped? I feel like they're a pretty important part. Well, not like dropped, but decreased from last year.
So in terms of the requests that we received this year, there was a cut in the operating members of the Safe Team cards. So they're kind of switching up their schedules, trying to expedite, or I guess be more efficient in their usage. Also Mr. Wormke can elaborate a little bit further. However, we did also fund new initiatives, including TAPRIDE, which is a new system that the entity is going to implement. So it's just the request was a little bit less in terms of payroll. That was the majority of it.
Would you like Mr. Wormke to elaborate?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Moore?
On the next slide. Just for clarification, the first three, they decide how to allocate their money, correct?
So the first one is student councils, which is the College of Medicine and the Sports Club Council. Which is the College of Medicine and the Sports Club Council. College of Medicine is allocated $0. Sports Club Council is allocated $45,236. They are the two entities that allocate money to these organizations.
If we're gonna keep putting zeros and stuff, we could say Zane's in there, but she gets zeros.
Council, it's not one council. Anyway, so the money that you see here is the money allocated to these councils for these awards. The money that you see here is allocated to these councils for the operation of the council. So for example, Sports Club Council requires interim funding because their organizations go to them for interim funding, whereas our organizations come to us for interim funding. So it's stuff like that.
Questions? Mr. Aziz?
Could you go briefly explain the increase in college medicine account for that?
Yeah. There was a
significant increase in the number of student organizations within the College of Medicine that are requesting funds. Actually, the overall total for each student organization either remained roughly the same or decreased, if I remember correctly, actually.
The averages lined up with the averages of our regular student organizations.
Okay, perfect. So what we did in committee was averaged out exactly how much each student organization that is like normal would get. That is other student organization would get. And that was aligned with the amount of money that was allocated to the College of Medicine based on the request of the College of Medicine allocation committee.
With the exception of SA
and
no. Cool. Questions?
No more questions about student orgs?
You guys claim to represent them, you're good?
Okay, and then following that, I now accounts a total of $1,058,100 to these categories. Questions?
Miss Larkins.
Which one of these does USF Week fall under?
USF Week falls under the Student Affairs.
So did they ask for the money for the stage this time instead of?
So actually, there is a change of leadership within the Center for Student Involvement. And so the budget that was requested this year did not include the additional funds that they would require this year as well and next year. So very likely they will have to come back and request that amount again. However, in the future years, because the new leadership is now aware of the increase, they're likely going to include it in their budget.
For clarification, it's a CAB.
Oh, just kidding, CAB, Campus Activity Board, my apologies.
And then you'll notice a change in title is Campus Traditions, that was formerly Homecoming, just for clarification.
Homecoming Steering Committee to be exact.
I hate that you guys have to go back, but there was an increase, so it was an increase for salary purposes or?
President-elect Coco.
So homecoming is now called Campus Traditions?
The steering committee is now referred to as Campus Traditions because it does much more than just homecoming. Senator Ulo.
They decided, I think they changed the name, they changed certain departments this year, so that this year they started a new Campus Traditions Board, that's Homecoming Board, because not only do they cover Homecoming Week, but they're like, most of the steering committee for USF Week, although parts of CAB and USF have events in it, the Traditions Board is mainly the, I guess, promoter and the scheduler of USF Week.
Right.
So that's why they Campus Traditions Board has them.
Thank you, sir. Question?
My question is still,
So as Mr. Aldridge looks for more details to your question, are there any other questions about the overall budget? So this is kind of again the breakdown, $14.665 million. Questions?
Ms. Hopkins.
are we going to go over the student organization budgets in detail?
Would you like to?
Yeah, we can go through the bills.
I mean.
No, you're fine. Mr. Aziz.
Before you do the student work, could you guys explain the benefits of funding the career services new initiative since it's new on the bill for 2027?
So this is me coming to my capacity of ASR. So don't fill up. Okay. Career services, as you see, is the line item here. Career services, right here. And so it was not funded last year, and it is funded for $165,000 this year. The purpose of this is there's concern from a lot of students across the board, that we're not providing much in terms of, other than, we don't really impact a lot of students what they're saying. Well, that concern is being brought in, I guess, impacted or corrected, at least to the best of our ability, via the increase in CPGP here, and possibly, if you construe it well enough, the career services. Career services themselves are services provided to students for guidance into their positions. That we've had this talk last time. It's if you wanted to be a microbiome degree holder and had no idea what to do with it. You don't know whether you want to pursue a degree in research, pursue a degree in medicine, pursue a degree in public health. You could do all those things, you just didn't know because your advisor's only there to teach you, and I know Ms. Malone loves her advisor. Your advisor's really only there to teach you what classes to take, but not how to use your degree to its fullest. Career services in turn will be the bridging of, it's a service provided to students telling them how to further their whole academic career into a career itself. So there'll be career counselors. 2 of them will be career staff counselors, and 5 resume building student counselors. Miss Larkin?
But doesn't the career center does that, or does this fall under the career center?
This will be allocating to the career center.
Okay.
Career center, yeah, right, exactly. Expanding their role. So
Okay.
possibly they could shift and provide more roles in other various departments.
Okay.
Ms. Ronke?
Yeah, just to kind of touch on the career services aspect, because I've been able to work with them a lot on the transition team for career services. And essentially what it is, the university has grown tremendously over the last few years, and we've been lucky to be a part of that. But our career services center has really kind of stayed the same. And so there's been a push from the university to really enhance our career services by changing it from a director to now an assistant vice president over career services. That way we can provide better services to our students. But it's not really worthwhile for us to graduate if we don't have jobs afterwards. So they've found that to be a very important part of student success. And so this is kind of our commitment to helping with that strategic vision while providing student jobs along with that as part of the enhancement.
And I believe we're also the lowest in the state under the ratio for advisors to students. I believe we're 1 to 6,000 is the rough estimate they give us. So we have 1 career advisor for 6,000 students, and I believe UCF was 1 to 4 or 1 to 2, plus or minus. So we're just really low down there. Is also part of the presentation.
And just kind of piggyback off of that, we're a lot of the universities in the state system of Florida also fund their career services through ANS as well.
Ms. O'Day?
Can I say something real quick about college public health advisors? Alright. One is newer than the other. However, they encourage students to pick up minors and majors because the major of the College of Public Health isn't as long as other programs.
What is this in reference to?
Just the previous. What was the previous discussion about what was said about the advisors? They do know what they're doing. They're still learning.
That was in reference to advisors tell you what to do with your degree, like how to get your degree. There used to be counselors that tell you what to do with your degree.
No, I understand that. It's just for the
I think you misconstrued what I said. I said you could get a degree in microbiology, go into research, go into medicine, or go into a field in public health. Then I forwarded my sentence into possibly talking to your advisor, not in reference to specifically public health advisors, ma'am.
Okay. Going back to our budget, are there any other questions?
Senator Aldridge, do you have your response?
Yeah, I can provide a point of clarification for Senator Larkin's question. So you see basically you see the Center for Student Involvement amount. It's basically a transfer from amounts that are in CSI to amounts that are in Campus Activities Board for specifically Roundup. So apparently Roundup in the past has been within the CSI budget, which has been more administrative and student organization based, as opposed to CAB being more event based. We had to deal with that a lot. We dealt with it really across the whole board of student affairs, but more specifically with the Center for Student Involvement plus the Campus Traditions, Campus Activities Board, the Universal Lecture Series, because they were having times where we kept finding monies in the wrong place. So they were trying to make switches over to be more in line with the actual departments in which they were spending money. So that's why the switch is you see the decrease in CSI and the increase in campus activities.
Thank you, sir. Questions?
Okay. Okay, has been requested that we go through the, student organizations as well, so we can do that. And if you guys have any other questions as we go along, I'll answer them. Okay, University of South Florida Student Senate, SBA 54084, Activities and Service Fee Annual Allocation Fiscal Year 2014-2015. And there you see the recorded committee actions, etc. 54th term, spring 2014, a Senate Appropriations Bill be it enacted by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government assembled that the following entities be allocated activities and service fee funds for the fiscal year 2014-2015 as follows: $10,063,910 for student programs and services, $2,805,106 for student government operations, $1,049,100 for interim and reserve accounts, and $746,957 for student organizations, for a grand total of $14,665,073 for ANS allocations. Again, it's all the same numbers that you just saw. You can look through them again. I'd recommend looking through them again as we scroll.
Can we go over those numbers one more time?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
No problem. I apologize. Mr. Priest?
Okay, so I know that CSI has a lot to do with just like what like clubs and activities. So I was wondering what their budget was. So about 70, like roughly 70 something?
Well, Mr. Aldridge, would you like to just read?
I mean, I will reiterate the same sort of thing that happened for the switch that led to the increase for Camp Activities Board, also led to the decrease for Center for Student Involvement. Other than that,
So like essentially the money from
Basically, it was realigning the request with the actual spending.
Okay.
So, in previous years, there had been lump sum requests for certain entities and programming items, and this year, and even last year, it's been requested that they become a little bit more transparent in their request, and in order to be more transparent, they had to transfer some of the items from one category to another, just to be in line with how they spent the money last year, this year, etc.
And something just to further elaborate, Miss Monica, the new director, she's actually said her biggest thing about the entire, like her whole new transition, is she wants to fix the budget that she's gonna work with and make sure it's all falling into the proper line items. So you'll see a lot of fluctuation in actual entities, but it's gonna be all roughly the same amount overall.
Thank you.
Senator Aldridge.
and I can just, I mean, other than the decrease, that was the biggest cut. There were also small cuts to operations and high, because amount of supplies, it felt like it was, what's the word for too much? Yeah, it's terrible.
There were services able to be provided by TechSmart and the budget that we've already allocated for student organizations for TechSmart.
And then in addition, since the new org system were replaced Blackboard, there was a cut of $3 million to the IT maintenance cost that we usually had to pay for Blackboard systems being kept up.
Mystery Low, oh, are you? Okay, Mystery Low.
Just a question about, I guess the CSI maybe. When we were going through the dean for students, I believe you mentioned that the 74,000 was half of Miss Danielle McDonald's salary. Would that explain part of the decrease in CSI, or where would that have come from? Now that you said it had to transfer from a different budget.
Mr. Alderman, go ahead.
With the D for student budget last year, since it was the whole 371,000, there was no amount in the CSI budget last year for that position. So if there would have been subsequently a decrease from the current year, or 2 years ago to what was this year. Yeah, that's, so there's no, that is not reflected in these two budgets over here.
Ms. Larkin, oh. Once you're in. Ms. Larkin.
What budget was Org taken out of? Like, we, approved it last time.
Unallocated. It was from unallocated.
Okay, so has it been included in any of their budgets, or is it gonna continue to be taken out of unallocated cash?
It was approved for a multi-year.
So I'm saying, like, when the contract is up?
It'll get to whoever, it should fall under a department, depending on where they decide to put it when they get there. But for now, it's, I believe, 3 or 4 years locked in. 3 years, thank you. Questions? If not, moving on down.
Again, this provides more details. Actually, it's just split up a little bit more so you can see it.
It's simple.
So,
It's exactly the same for the car, it's the same chart. You guys want to look at it? Same one. And here's the order. Alright.
okay, so if you would like to scroll through them, if you guys have any questions about particular organizations, you're more than welcome to ask. Again, the star indicates organizations that have failed to request money. The plus signs indicate organizations that have either failed to meet, failed to submit constitutional changes, and then we have a little diamond thing, which means they failed to submit it to the appropriate party. So they should have submitted it to COMAC, they submitted it to ASAR, or they submitted it to both ends, etc. So, yeah, you can see the key right here.
I was scrolling through the budget, and for one of the student organizations, I believe it's MSA, a lot of the student organizations that ask for a large amount of money and received a small cut of it, and I believe they asked for around $27,000 and received a larger amount of that. Why is that?
Okay, so when we allocate funds, we look at previous spending as well as previous, like the details of previous spending, because of the well-established history of the organization. For organizations like MSA, for organizations like SAE, also because of the outside, kind of they get sponsorships, stuff like that, it was determined that it was appropriate to provide that kind of funding. So
this is what was allocated last year, or this fiscal cycle. This is what they requested, and this is what they're allocated for next year.
So,
you can't see
a lot of times we have student organizations who get allocated, let's say $2,000. They'll spend $100 of it. And, you know, why didn't you spend your money? On what did you spend your money? In certain other cases, we have student organizations that have spent their money exactly, almost exactly how they requested it. So that indicates fiscal responsibility and a commitment to that fiscal responsibility.
Question. We'll start back at the top just so well, the world's fair chances. Mr. Morgan?
Just for the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, that is a sizable cut. I just want to know what the reasoning is.
Mr. Aldridge? Well, actually, they had the
Well,
Kemi
that's
card, they
the-
had the human card, they had Mr. Aziz.
I
They
used
also.
the one with the, like, the steel bridge. This one?
That's
No, no, that's
ASC.
it, that's it.
That's ASC.
Yeah. Yeah, bridges and stuff, or something.
So a lot of these engineering
Oh,
organizations request items such as, tools, reusable supplies, stuff that the committees thought may not be, fiscally responsible to fund. Also, we check the sometimes we check the organization's, spending, and a lot of the funds, it was not spent on the items that they had previously requested, which were replicated in their current budget. And as such, it was determined that it was not fiscally responsible to refund the same items that were previously not on.
Yeah, they asked for the same, I believe, it was tools
Yeah.
exactly and stuff, and if they wanted to buy them, they could have bought them this year, and they still have the chance to buy them this year. They also did not appeal, so. Mr. Priest.
Just a general question. So when we're seeing like budgets cut by like by what they requested, like by shoot I remember like 70% for like larger ones. Normally is that just because they have asked for things that are just not fiscally responsible?
In some cases, that might be the case. In other cases, we do apply a set of standards that is applied across the board in order to comply with viewpoint neutrality. And as such, we are required to allocate similar funds for different, like, if an organization is requesting 20 events, we cannot fund all 20 of their events, for instance. Some of these organizations may be requesting that large amount of events. In other cases, an organization, I think one of them was requesting like buying a canopy. We have that service available, so it's not fiscally responsible for us to buy it when they can rent it. So it's a lot of stuff that they request services that are otherwise already available to them, or can be made available at a much more fiscally responsible value.
It's cool.
I just have some like general questions. When you fund these organizations, you tell them, correct? And do you tell them that what you said, like, oh, one wanted to buy a canopy, do you tell them that we actually have that?
So what happens is, as I've described previously, each of the organizations receives a mock budget from me. They're given the opportunity to appeal that decision. Those organizations who have appealed the decision are able to come back, meet with a representative again, present their case, they go again before Senate. Throughout that process, their representatives, i.e. your members of ASARC, have contacted the organizations with the exact budget that we've allocated on, so our allocation notes are written in there. So, for example, $2 per head for food standard. Go buy your canopy go rent your canopy from CLC, or whatever.
CSI.
You know? CSI, go borrow your canopy from CSI. Buy your t-shirts this year, etc., stuff like that. It's all in there, so yes.
Alright. Mr. Priest.
By the way, so I asked you a question.
No, I appreciate your thoroughness.
So alright, so B sets, looking at that. So last year they weren't allocated anything, they kinda asked for a lot this year, and they got like about $3,000. Well, almost 4,000. So can you explain why they asked for that? I'm just wondering because I just feel like that's kind of like a kind of like a history and tradition as well, so I just think that's important. So I'm just wondering like what they
Ms. Pellegrino has a budget.
That was actually one of the orgs I did their budget. What do you mean why they got that? Do you mean they got not as much money as
Or do
they
you
requested?
remember what they requested?
They requested a lot of money for paint. So obviously, I'm sorry?
Tailgates.
For tailgates, yes. Money for paint, also food money for food for the tailgates and stuff like that. But most of their money was requested on the materials for paint. Does that help you?
You can just reemphasize your question, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so if that's the case, that cut, can you explain that cut thing?
So we came up with some sort of a formula because again, we don't fully fund, we subsidize, and it's the responsibility of the organization to find other sources of funding. So we came up with a formula. It was, they requested, I believe from the top of my head, 30 bottles of 30 ounces each per each color of paint. I'm sorry?
8 ounces.
8 ounces? Okay, I'm sorry. 8 ounces. So we decided, I actually decided to fund half of their request. So I only funded 15 per each color they wanted. Because there were like 4, I believe 3, 4 different colors. So I did half of it if I'm not mistaken. But yeah.
So when you see large amounts like this, a lot of the times it is due to non-traditional materials. So generally student organizations will request traditional materials such as plates, napkins, forks, knives, etc., etc. In non-traditional cases, you get organizations that request, like beef studs, they request paint for tailgates. That's a little bit more pricey. We have other student organizations that request printmaking materials. That is a little bit more pricey. So that is materials we do subsidize. However, it's not something that all organizations request.
She kind of answered my question, so I was gonna ask if that, if paint is something that the organizations perform, how is it, it aligns with their mission, so